y'all, it's Orlando. Long time no hear, right? Well, we are back and we are continuing our candidate series. Donna and I partnered with the LEAP Coalition Steering Committee to bring to you a candidate forum for the city council candidates in District 4. It was a wild night with a lot of differing perspectives. We hope you'll take a listen and make an informed decision at the ballot box. Here is the latest episode of Authentically Detroit.
Now meet the moderators. Moderators tonight is myself and Orlando Bailey. Emmy nominated Orlando Bailey. I like to say my co-host of Authentically Detroit. You know, when you get important, you have to have those things in front of you. We started this podcast a couple years ago in an effort to share news and build communication inside of our community. Since we recorded, I think we're into like 64, 65 episodes. We've had so many listeners on multiple throughout the United States and actually in Europe, in a couple of countries in Europe. So we're excited by the wide interest in authentic Detroit conversations. And we are excited to bring this candidates forum to you so that we can share the information that you need. The Authentically Detroit is funded by the Ford Foundation, and you can tune in every week to hear the latest episode on our website, ecndetroit.org/podcast, or on buzzsprout.com, or anywhere where you listen to your podcast, on iTunes, on
Google Podcasts, Spotify, all of those places.
Podcasts, anywhere you listen to your podcast.
All right, so it is time to meet the candidates. This list has been compiled in alphabetical order. We want you to meet Anemashan Bomani, former liaison and policy analyst for Councilman Kwame Kenyatta. He's the president of the Community Aid and Development Heritage Youth Program and the former AFS CME union member and rep. He's a member fellow of the Detroit Affordable Housing Task Force. He's a licensed social worker and a Michigan State University alumni.
All right.
Welcome, Mr. Bomani.
Hi.
ML Elrick, Pulitzer Prize and Emmy Award-winning investigative reporter. See, I just have a nomination. He actually has an Emmy. A longtime union organizer and neighborhood activist, currently serving as the East Outer Dry Street representative for the East English Village Neighborhood Association. Has been working for Detroit children for nearly 20 years as a youth sports coach, school commission member, and fundraiser who has so far raised more than $135,000 for Detroit children. ML Elrick, welcome.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
Good to have you. Latisha Johnson, graduate of Kettering High School and the University of Michigan, founded the nonprofit Mecca Development Corporation in 2014 because it was critical that every resident's voice is heard. She's partnered with residents to address concerns of well-being, workforce development, youth engagement, and neighborhood revitalization. Implemented the Community Closet Free Store, skill building programs, and the rehab of affordable housing. Latisha Johnson, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're happy to have you. Toson Knight, product of several public schools, received a Bachelor of Arts degree from Oakwood University and a Master's of Educational Leadership from the University of Michigan. Served as the Deputy Manager for District 4 for the Mayor's Office, and he currently serves as Dean of Culture for Detroit Public Schools at Western International High School. Toson Knight, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you. Daivon Reeder, community servant, Army veteran, nonprofit founder and CEO, and proud Detroit native. Graduate from Frederick Douglass High School for Young Men and Eastern Michigan University, my alma mater as well, where he studied criminal justice. Started The Nation Incorporated, a nonprofit organization focused on mentoring and increasing retention rates for young Black males. Served for 7 years in the United States Army and has been commissioned as a second lieutenant. Daivon, welcome.
Thank you for having me today.
Happy to have you. And Judge Virgil Smith served 14 years on the Lane County Circuit Court bench, including 4 years as Chief Judge. He's also a former state representative who became the first Black Michigan Senate floor leader in Michigan history. Judge Smith, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome.
Happy to have you. Ken Snapp, proud graduate of Cass Technical High School. Most Cass Tech graduates are proud graduates of Cass Tech. Made history for being the youngest mayoral candidate at the age of 21 years old in 2017. A nationally recognized advocate for social justice, serves as a mentor, coach, former educator, and a law enforcement officer. Ken, welcome.
Thank you, Orlando. I appreciate that.
Happy to have you. Is Council President Pro Tem Mary Sheffield on the call yet? She here? All right.
Her now.
I don't see her. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in alphabetical order. We're going to ask each of the candidates to give their opening statements. You have 2 minutes. We are going to stick with time. And so 2 minutes for your opening statements, and we're going to start with Mr. Bomani.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ani Bomani. I'm a candidate for Detroit City Council District 4. I am unbought and unbossed. I'm a 30-year community activist and organizer. I've had extensive experience not only locally, but nationally organizing people. I've run many mentoring and rites of passage programs for young people. I am a member fellow of the Affordable Housing Task Force and a licensed social worker. So I have a passion for people. I've worked with all levels and all people, different kind of people in my, while I was working, I'm sorry. And so I have extensive experience with city government, working for the city council. And I think that we need somebody there who will not sell out the people of Detroit. We need a strong representative, a strong Black representative who will not sell out the people of Detroit. And unfortunately, gentrification is getting the best of us, and we need to do something about that. Environmental racism is an issue here, and places for our young people to go and do with the recreation centers and libraries is a real issue here in Detroit and in the 4th district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bomani. ML Elrick, 2 minutes.
Hi. Thanks, first of all, for the opportunity to meet with neighbors and people who we haven't seen yet as we knock on doors and as we come to neighborhoods. I think it's important for people to know as much as they can about us. I think many people may know me as an investigative reporter who's held public officials in Detroit, in Macomb County, and Lansing, and elsewhere responsible, who made sure that a state Supreme Court justice who wasn't going to work knew that people were watching him and expected him to put in a full day's work for a full day's pay, a very lucrative day of pay for what it's worth. What I think people don't know about me is that I'm a 22-year resident of the district. I've been working in the district since before it was a district, as a kid, working at a market, working at a paint store. And that in addition to my work as an investigative reporter, I've also done stories that have highlighted Detroiters who are finding solutions, Detroiters who are trying to find a way to keep us out of Chapter 9 and to get us into Chapter 10 and beyond. Those stories are on my website at ml4detroit.com under ML's Detroit Stories. I encourage you to take a look at them, because really what it is it shows us what most people who have been in Detroit for a long time already know. The answers and the solutions are not in City Hall, they're in our neighborhoods, they're in all of us. They're in places like ECN, working together with neighbors and trying to bring people together for a common purpose. That while the city should be our partner and should help us get things done, that's by pulling together that we're really going to make things happen. I know that as a youth sports coach, I know that as a school commissioner, I know that as someone who's been involved in cleaning up my neighborhood and hopefully cleaning up politics. The current city council sat for 4 years next to a crook. No one would say anything about it. I was the only one who would say something about it. You want a watchdog in City Hall? I'm the one. I'll watch the mayor. I'll watch the other city council members. And if something's rotten, you know I'll tell you about it. Thank you.
Thank you, ML. Latisha Johnson, you have 2 minutes.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you all so much for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit more of who I am. I am a native Detroiter. I actually know what it's like to grow up in poverty in the city of Detroit. I also know what it's like to get a driver's license at the age of 21 because I didn't have a car to drive. And unfortunately, I know what it's like to live without running water. Thankfully, because of the support from family and teachers, I also know what it's like to be a first-generation college graduate. Over the past 14 years, I have served this community with compassion, empathy, and hard work to make sure that I help to address issues that we were seeing throughout our community. 7 years ago, I started a nonprofit organization called Mecca Development Corporation, a grassroots nonprofit organization that has continually made progress to address the needs of the people throughout our community, creating skill building programs, rehabbing houses. We have the community closet that was mentioned earlier, because we just want to make sure that residents know and understand that we believe everybody deserves the best in life. We also have a program where we provide free books to children age 5 and under. I will continue to serve all of you. I will continue to work with all of you to make sure that we identify solutions that prioritize our residents and our communities. You all know me.
We are at time. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Toson Knight, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me. It's truly a pleasure to be here. If you want to know anything about me, you just know that I get things done. From my past years, I've been in Detroit. I've been here all my life, except when I went to college. I've been able to get things done. I started a mentoring program when I got back from college to work with young men, change their lives, to give them a different direction. We've been able to get over 50 young men in college, had our first graduate the past few weeks. I'm definitely the one who'll be able to resolve your issues. I worked in the mayor's office for 4 years, resolving people's issues, answering their concerns, and making sure that I get things done. If you want to know anything about me, I think it's important to know that I will fight for jobs. I think as a city council person that you must fight for people to have a living wage, and I'll do that as a city council person. I'll fight for recreation, because our seniors and youth, they need places to go that are safe. They need places to go where they can have an outlet. So I would definitely fight for that. And lastly, I'll fight for quality of life in neighborhoods. Those are things that I believe is so important, that people want to live in peace. They want to make sure that they're not living around trash and abandoned houses. And I'll make sure that people have quality of neighborhoods. That's what I'll do as a city council person. And so as I think about the different people that I've encountered through this campaign trail, I've met 90-year-olds who cut grass 4 or 5 lots, on their streets. And if you're looking for somebody to make sure that these people don't have to do that, I am your guy. And I'll definitely fight for you each and every day that I work as a city council person. And I'm thankful to have all the support I have right now.
Thank you, Toson Knight. Daivon Reeder. Daivon, I want to caution, because I want to make sure that we're saying everybody's name right. Your name on Zoom is saying Davion instead of
I'm
Davion.
not sure why it's doing that, and I'm actually going to fix it.
All right, but Daivon Reeder, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, perfect. So good evening, everyone. First off, thank you, Lee. Thank you, ECN, and thank you, Authentically Detroit, for inviting me and hosting this conversation. And thank you to the candidates for joining me, but mostly thank you to the citizens of District 4 for the support that you guys have just poured out to me so far. I appreciate you. I am Daivon Reeder, a son of Detroit, a man from East 7 Mile, and I was raised by a single mother. And in my household, we just knew struggle all too well. And it is because of this community support. I now stand in front of you today as an Army veteran, a first-generation college graduate, a nonprofit founder, and now a city council candidate. And I am an example that would support and funding our city works. And I've seen our issues, I've seen the issues our community face, and I'm dedicated to providing solutions to these issues. And after working with many of you, I have developed a 4-point plan for District 4. And in this plan, I address rebuilding our workforce and economy pipeline, introducing equitable housing for all Detroiters, enhancing our public safety, and addressing the environmental and climate justice control in our city. And as your next city councilman, I will work to ensure all Detroiters are included in the development and growth for our city. And as I go across my platform points, many people may ask and say, we have so many other problems we can address, so many things that we can focus on. But again, I said, after working with the neighbors and working with my team, these are 4 points that I know we can tackle today, and it can help us set up for a better Detroit tomorrow. And not just for the new Detroiters, for all Detroiters, especially the native Detroiters. Thank you.
Thank you, Daivon. And we're going to hear from Judge Smith. Judge Smith, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey, and thank you, Lee, for allowing me to address our community. My name is Virgil Smith. I was born and raised in the city of Detroit. My father raised me in both business and politics. My dad had a gas station for 55 years over in Coney Gardens. He involved me in the political arena. I was in John Conyers' campaign organizing when I was 16. I was in Coleman Young's campaign organizing when I was about 22. I spent 24 years in the legislature. I was elected to the state house, then was elected to the state senate. I became floor leader in the Michigan Senate in 1995. After I left, while I was in the legislature, I passed over 100 public acts, but probably one of them that I'm most proud of is I passed the first bill in the country against South Africa in 1978. And that bill kept banking money from being invested in South Africa. In 1988, I passed the strongest divestment bill by the Michigan legislature against South Africa. It was the first legislation passed by any state legislature against South Africa. We pulled $16 billion of Michigan corporate money out of South Africa in 1988. Apartheid fell in 1994. The ANC asked me to come over in 1995. I went there to help train their newly elected national legislators and provincial legislators in their 9 provinces. I spent 6 weeks over in South Africa doing that for the ANC. I did meet President Mandela, and he did autograph his book for me, A Long Walk to Freedom. I spent 16 years on Michigan on the Wayne County Circuit Court. I was both presiding judge and
I'm
chief
so
judge.
sorry, but I have to cut you off. You have reached your 2-minute mark. Thank you so much, Judge Smith. Ken Snapp, you have 2 minutes.
Well, again, I'd like to thank everyone for inviting us out today. As you stated, Orlando, I am a Proudcast Tech alum. I've lived in Cornerstone community my entire life for over 26 years. I'm a former educator in Detroit Public Schools. I've taught and mentored thousands of children in the city of Detroit, as well as coaching basketball for the past 10 years at Ronald Brown Academy, one of the Eastside's biggest magnet schools, and a school in our district. I also coached at Davis Aerospace for the last 3 years as the varsity head coach there. I've protected and served our community as the Wayne County Sheriff Deputy. Probably the only nationally endorsed candidate. In 2018, I traveled to Washington, D.C. to speak to representatives, to our state representatives with the National Community Reinvestment Coalition. And during that time, we talked about our underserved communities, including rural areas. We struggle to attract private investment, and that's something that we're advocating for. So we spoke to Brenda Lawrence, we spoke to Debbie Dingle and Gary Peters as well while we were on Capitol Hill. And I did that right after my 2017 campaign because I realized that people are really struggling. So the NCRC, National Community Reinvestment Coalition, invited me out with other local leaders, and we came and we spoke about the inequities in Detroit, especially for the 40% of underprivileged and living in poverty constituents that we have. I also want to make sure we get this point out that I support Senator Erica Geis. She's doing Senate Bill 961, and this is something I want to talk to people about because policy is very important. We're trying to pass this bill, which has 1 hour of paid sick leave for every 30 hours worked. So limiting, folks to paid sick time leave is so inhumane, especially in the time of COVID. We have to realize that policy matters, and then that folks, living paycheck to paycheck.
Time, Ken. I'm sorry to have
Thank
to
you. It's okay. Yeah,
You're at time. Thank you. So again, everybody, I have to be that person tonight. Forgive me, but I'm sorry, but not really that sorry. So we have about 11 categories worth of questions that we want to ask, and I'm sure that we're not going to get to all of them, and this list isn't even exhaustive. How it will work is that Donna and I will seesaw questions, and we're going to go up and down the roster alphabetically, and then go back up the other way. So I'm going to turn it over to Donna to ask our first question. Donna.
Last November, voters in Detroit supported proposal in to raise bond funds to demolish homes and also to protect and secure some homes. The mayor said at the time when he was proposing Proposal N that home renovation, securing homes was going to be prioritized over demolition, that it was always a better result to keep a home than to demolish a home. But I think I can speak for many of my community development colleagues in noting that it's getting harder and harder to find homes to acquire and rehab. Many homes that could be rehabbed are showing up on a demolition list. And it seems as though the demolition list is being proposed without a lot of community input. So my question is, how would you propose an equitable land disposition program? And I'll start with you, Mr. Snapp, since we're going backwards on the alphabet. What would you do to ensure an equitable land disposition program?
Well, first, I believe in developing CBAs, for sure, community benefit agreements. I believe that the community's input is very important when we establish any type of policy. I also believe that pricing can be adjusted downward to allow for greater affordability for our longtime citizens that have been in District 4 and across the city, because we know that a lot of folks and a lot of different corporations are coming in and buying the cities from the land bank. So I believe that if we can adjust and create equity for our citizens, I think we have a conversation. And then once we get into a little bit more of legislation and developing policy with CBAs established, I think we can come to a better idea and better plan to at least get our city back on track with buying these abandoned houses and structures.
Okay, thank you. Judge Smith, how would you, what would you do to ensure an equitable land disposition policy?
Well, I also agree with Mr. Snapp that the community has to be involved in how homes are renovated and whether a home is salvageable or whether it can be rehabbed. I would like to see more community involvement in the rehab process. So I would like to work with the trade unions. I'd like to see carpenters, electricians, plumbers being trained in our community and working with community groups so we can have community-based organizations being a part of that rehab process in order to rehab houses in their own neighborhoods, whether we have church involvement or community involvement to take control of the rehabilitation process within their own communities. I'd like to see that grow and prosper, and I would do all I could to help facilitate it.
All right, thank you. Daivon Reeder, how would you ensure equitable land disposition policies in the city of Detroit?
I think the answer is simple. The people. We need to get our citizens involved in the process of change and development. We have so many community-based grassroots organizations that knows what's going on the ground. And as a leader in the Army, whenever I was completing a mission, I didn't make any decision without going and talk to my troops on the ground, because they know things that I don't know, and they know what changes needs to be happening. And I will bring that same thing into the decision making when it comes to this subject for Detroiters. We need to ask the citizens and get our community organizations involved, as well as we are doing the Motor City Match for new business owners. We can do something similar for citizens who buy homes and rehab them. So if we'll match up to a certain amount of funds to help you rehab the home. So that way this house is not just getting bought and you're going to lose it in a few years, but you're actually going to make it a sustainable house. I know that we're proposing to tear down houses, but that is only leaving us vulnerable for more illegal dumpings. We have about 90,000 abandoned lots right now. That just leaves us more open for illegal dumping. And I will simply just get the people more involved and use some of that American Rescue Plan funds. It's there. We need to use it for our citizens. I know that the mayor offered, I think it was about $100 million for neighborhood development. We can offer more than that. We can reallocate some funds and get our citizens the funding and the resources they need to redevelop their homes.
Thank you. Toson Knight, what would you do to ensure equitable distribution of land?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. I think it's important that, as you all kind of alluded to in your question, that you must involve the community. And I think that something that has went away from our communities, that we don't have a lot of block clubs anymore. So a lot of those voices get drowned out by different individuals that speak for the community. So one of the things I would do as a city council person is make sure that I'm walking, as I'm doing now, block by block, talking to the residents and seeing, because I've been able to see that a lot. And some people are like, hey, they should never tore down that building, or this building needs to go. And I think, you know, when I worked for the city, one of the things I was very important doing was I was able to get buildings torn down. And when I remember I worked at Denby High School for a while, and it was an abandoned building across the street from Denby High School. And that was a building that kids were going into. There were a lot of things happening, and we were able to get that down within my first month of working for the city. So I believe in getting stuff done. I think that's the most important piece. And I believe in also making sure that the community is involved in those decisions, because they have to live there. They know what's happening. They know if people can buy the house, if they want family members to move in, or whatever. So I'll definitely involve the community, and I'll definitely continue to work to get more abandoned houses down and keep the houses that can be salvaged. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Latisha Johnson, what would you do to ensure more equitable land distribution?
So we definitely have to appreciate and value the voice of the community. There are numerous community development organizations on the East Side that are on the ground doing the work, that understand the challenges that we're having within our communities. And I believe they have the capacity to be able to revitalize these properties as opposed to demolishing them, because in District 4, we have swaths of land that have been demolished and still no development taking place. In order for us to have improved public safety, we need to revitalize houses as opposed to tear them down. So we have been working on a community engagement process within Mecca Development Corporation, and I know and value the importance of having people's voice at the table. I do recognize that there are so many of us that are doing the work and wanting to make sure that there is transparency and accountability. And so making sure that everybody is involved in making those decisions, and they're not just told to us which properties are going to be demolished, because we know we've all seen so many houses with secure, stable foundations to be demolished just because a neighbor thought it was an eyesore within the community. So we definitely have to stay connected and stay engaged.
Thank you. ML Elrick, what would you do to ensure equitable land disposition?
I think one of the first and most important things we can do is identify the most salvageable homes and make them available to people who lost their homes because of the overassessment of city properties. If you really want to create equity, equity is a home, and giving a home to people who lost their home unfairly would be my top priority. Secondly, I think neighbors who are longtime residents, people are in the neighborhoods already, they have made the commitment, they've made the investment. So I would expand the side lot program, and I would make sure that if you are a responsible homeowner who has a clean record of maintaining your property, if you'd like to have more property, that we make those lots available to you. Your track record will determine the ability to get lots. Right now, you can only get a couple on either side of your house. I think if you've been a responsible homeowner and you can take on more responsibility, we trust you based on the record you've created. I also think that we do need to have community input, meaning if there is a property or there is a vacant lot that's owned by the land bank or owned by the city, if the block club, if the neighborhood association would like to come together and make that a garden, would make that a tot lot or a small green space, or even put solar panels on there or create a small urban farm, that we take that input and we have them at the table before we make it available to the rest of the community. And also, I think ownership should be to individuals. So if there's a home that's for sale, we should make sure that they are not being sold to people who are trying to accumulate properties, who are trying to be speculators, who are trying to build an empire where they're going to sit on these homes until the values appreciate. And of course, the priority should be to local people, people in Detroit, people from the neighborhood, people who are our neighbors. We want to stay in the city of Detroit, because the only reason the city is poised for a comeback is because so many of us have sat through so much malarkey that we're actually ready now to reap the fruits of our labors.
Thank you, Emil. We are at time. Go ahead, Donna.
Thank you. And I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Orlando seemed to do it with no trouble, but I'm going to try this. Is it Ane Bomani? How do you pronounce your first name?
Yeah, Ani is fine. Ani, Bomani, even though most people just call me Bomani.
All right. Well, I'm going to call you Ani Bomani for today. So
Okay.
thank you for joining us. And how can you answer the question how you would ensure equitable land disposition?
Well, of course, I would agree with most people that we have to get the neighborhoods and the people in the grassroots organizations involved in equitable distribution of the funds. But we also need to get some of that money back from the overtaxation funds too. And we need to stop, kowtowing to the millionaires and billionaires and maybe make them pay their fair share, which is what Biden is trying to do. Maybe we need to tax those people too and to make sure there's enough funds for the neighborhoods, because downtown and midtown seem to be getting all the money and nothing seems to be going to the neighborhood. So as a grassroots organizer and an advocate, that money that we've been overtaxed and the money that they're using for downtown and midtown and Little Caesars Arena and the Downtown Development Corporation is giving money to millionaires and billionaires, and that money needs to go to the neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. Orlando, it's your turn.
Thank you, Donna. So my question is under the tenet of public safety. It's a hot topic right now in the city of Detroit. And the question is, what is your vision for public safety, policing, and surveillance in our city? Since we started with Ken Snapp last time, Mr. Bomani, we're going to start with you. You have 2 minutes.
Okay. One thing I disagree with facial recognition technology. Apparently all Black men look alike and all Black women look alike. And so I disagree. And there's been some issues with facial recognition technology all over the country. Also, we have an issue where sometimes the police have a tendency to overreact to situations. As a licensed social worker, I believe that maybe sometimes you need to have people who are empathetic, like social workers, to come in and help mediate some of these situations that you have in the neighborhoods, instead of sending in an occupying force, which sometimes it appears that the police are, being overly armed and overly gunned. We need to make sure that there are people who are around who are sympathetic, who are not just there to arrest people, to harass people. You need people who are sympathetic to the situations, because of the COVID situation, we have people who are suffering. Mental health issues are serious, and I've worked with the mentally challenged population quite a bit. So we need people who are empathetic to the situation that goes on in the neighborhoods.
Thank you, Mr. Bomani. ML, same question to you. What is your vision for public safety, policing, and surveillance in the city of Detroit?
Sure. Thanks, Orlando. First and foremost, I think we need more police, and I think we need better police. I think we need police who are trained to be peace officers first and warriors second. And I think we need to expand the definition of what a police officer or a police employee is in the city of Detroit. That can be social workers, that can be psychologists, that can be family advocates, they can be therapists. These are people who can help de-escalate situations, who can help us get a peaceful resolution when there's a conflict pending. One of the reasons why I say we need more police is because response times are still not what they should be. And because the reason we're even talking about green light and shot spotter and speed humps is because this is technology that is supposed to replace human beings. We have these things because we don't have enough people, because we don't have neighborhood police, because we don't have police who know the kids, because we don't have enough police to have human intelligence, meaning sources in the neighborhoods who can tell them what's really going on, where the hot spots are, who might be responsible, and who can tell a kid who may be headed towards trouble, you know what, you're a good kid. If you keep doing this, you're going to end up in a place you don't want to be. I'm concerned that we are trying to find shortcuts to keep Detroiters safe. Green light is no substitute for a quick police response. Speed humps, we need them, but the reason we need them is because there's nobody holding speeders responsible for going too fast in our neighborhoods. And I guarantee you, once we put all these speed humps in, which by the way are very expensive, people will find another way to get around them. And if folks are going to speed, they're going to speed. I think one of the things about surveillance, I am not in favor of being under the scrutiny of a camera 24/7. I would be in favor of temporary surveillance set up on dump sites so that we can identify the people who are using our city as a garbage pound.
And we are at time, ML. Thank you so much. We are going to move on to Latisha Johnson. Latisha, the same question to you, and that is, what is your vision for public safety, policing, and surveillance in our city? You have 2 minutes.
Thank you for the question. So I think we have to take a global look at public safety. One, we need to make sure that we are occupying houses, that we're revitalizing houses so that we have more eyes and ears within our communities. We need to make sure that we provide some community centers for all of our residents to be able to take advantage of skill building activities, to keep them productive, to keep them working in positive areas so that we reduce crime. When you give people opportunities, when you have them working in various areas, that gives them the ability to do positive things, create jobs. That helps to make sure that we are productive and we don't have time to go out and do frivolous things that create public safety hazards or issues. As it relates to policing, I did serve on the board of the 5th Precinct Police Community Relations Council for 6 years and recognize the value in making sure that we develop relationships with our officers so that they know and understand who we are in the community and the culture of the community. I do think it's important to increase the number of neighborhood police officers so that we can continue to develop those relationships and that we then know how to work together as opposed to working against one another. And as it relates to surveillance, I will agree that we recognize that Detroit is a 70–80% African-American city, and we know that facial recognition cameras are not favorable for us. I would definitely remove the facial recognition portion of the surveillance, but make sure that we have cameras to be able to identify individuals who commit crimes, but not utilizing that technology solely to apprehend people, because we've seen that it just does not work for Black people.
Thank you, Latisha. You finished right on time. Toson Knight, your vision for public safety, policing, and surveillance in the city of Detroit. You have 2 minutes.
Sure. I first off, this is one of those things where when the question's gonna be asked, what sets you apart from other candidates? One of the things I'll be very clear on is that I've already, I like to talk about what I've done. And so when a few years back, we started a program called the Brotherhood. That is police officers mentoring young men and young women in the community. The Brotherhood in it started off as the Brotherhood. And I remember that the most powerful thing about this was that so many different kids start seeing police officers in a brighter light. Instead of like always going at it, always feeling like they're going to harass them, they start seeing them as their big brothers and big sisters. And I believe that's so important as we talk about the policing in the city and how are we going to connect our people to make sure that we have that right balance between the police and the community. I think that's so important. And I've done that as just working in the community. Also, I feel like, so there's certain things, I know people don't want to touch hot topic issues and things like that. And I want to be very clear. I'll always be straight up with people. I'm always going to tell them where I stand on issues. And as it relates to the facial recognition, I am not against facial recognition. If you look at the homicide closure rate in the city of Detroit, it is 22%. The homicide closure rate is 22%. So when you think about how many people are going home on a consistent basis to the ghost of a murdered child and a murdered family member, and we don't have enough resources to be able to resolve them. And some people say we can police, but we need to be able to find more resources to be able to resolve those with the right parameters. That means that we must have individuals that are held accountable. And I don't know if Latisha knew or not, but the current police strategy on facial recognition, it does not, it is only used as a lead. You cannot go arrest someone. Now that was an issue before that they did arrest someone, but it's only used as a lead right now at the current police department. And if
we are at time. Thank you, Knight. We are at time. We are at time. We're going to move on to Daivon Reeder. Daivon, your vision for public safety, policing, and surveillance in the city of Detroit.
Okay, so let me just address the surveillance part while it's in my head. So we know that across the country that they're starting to investigate, starting to research, even taking out eyewitness statements as ways of prosecution. So why would we? I just don't think we should be relying on facial recognition when we can't even rely on the memory of a human being. Just simple as that. And to address policing, the first issue is we need police officers from Detroit. Less than a quarter of the police officers from NDPD are from Detroit. You can't police a neighborhood where you don't live, where you don't understand the citizens. And it's just that simple. As a community of color, when we call our first responders, we should know that we're going to be treated with respect and our issue is going to be handled. And not that if I call, I may be killed or I may go to jail. It just, that shouldn't be a thought in my head. It just shouldn't. And if we introduce, as I thought about neighborhood policing, if you went to DPS in the last 15 years, Officer Payne will come to the schools and try to recruit on DPD behalf, but he will always say, I'm not going to leave here with the expectation of getting new recruits. I want you to understand that I'm here for you. And I want you to understand that there are police officers like me that look like you that want you to be okay. And he will always give his cell phone number out. And I returned back to to Frederick Douglass a few years after graduating, and he was still doing the same routine. And I just was so amazed by that. We need more of that. And we need to introduce mental health specialists, mental health practicing in our police practicing period. We know, if anything, from this last year, we need police reform. And what that looks like is understanding that criminals are human beings, people are human beings, and we have problems. Everybody have problems. Even the police officer that's responding to the 911 call. We need mental health specialists.
Reeder, we are at time. Thank you, Daivon. We're going to move on to Judge Smith. Judge Smith, your vision for public safety, policing, and surveillance in the city of Detroit. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'd like to see residency reinstored. I think that police officers should live in the city of Detroit, and I would work as hard as I could to change the state law to allow residency to be taken into consideration. The legislature took that out of our hands because anytime there's an issue that the Black community wants to see, they will take it out of our hands and put it on a higher level. I'm willing to fight at every level. I also think that there needs to be more oversight of police officers. We need to know which police officers are abusive. We need to know how many police officers have complaints filed against them. We need to know what kind of complaints are filed against them. And we need to have some way of getting those police officers off of the police force. We need to strengthen the oversight by the Detroit Police Community Board so that they can throw police officers off if they feel that they are detrimental to the city because of their actions, and they have caused the city because of the lawsuits that have been filed because of the actions that they involved themselves in. I think education for police officers is quite important. I'd like to see police officers have a minimum of 2 years of community college besides the high school education. I'd also like to see diversity concluded. I was raised in a segregated Detroit, and all police officers are white when I was growing up. And that didn't change until Coleman Young became mayor. When Coleman Young became mayor, he made sure that there was diversity in the police force. There needs to be community policing. The police need to be reflective of the community. And I'd like to see our churches involved in making recommendations on young people in their congregations and help push them forward to be police officers in the city of Detroit, so they would be reflective not only of the city of Detroit, but also of our church community, which has been the foundation.
We are at time, Judge Smith. I hate to cut you off, but we are at time. Ken Snapp, you have the last word on this. Your vision for public safety, policing, and surveillance in the city of Detroit. You have 2 minutes.
So the funny thing is that I'm actually a law enforcement officer. I do work for Wayne County Sheriff's Department as a deputy. And also I did lead a march across Belle Isle Bridge advocating against police brutality. So as an officer, I have the first-hand point of view when it comes to policing tactics and policy. And as I stated earlier, policy is the key to changing our political spectrum and our life for residents in District 4 and across the city. Really quickly, I want to talk about policy when we hire officers. A lot of people don't know, once we hire an officer, they have the choice to go to school. They have the choice to go to Schoolcraft, or they have the choice to go to our police academy for DPD. Once they go, they attain that knowledge and they become a certified officer. Then there is no law in place that allows them to stay in the city, restricts them from leaving our agency. So our turnover rate is really high from those who are retiring or those who are quitting and leaving, going to other agencies. We're paying these officers to go get trained under DPD, under Detroit taxpayers' money. And then they say, well, I don't want to stay here because I'm not from here. They're from Southgate, they're from Monroe, they're from everywhere else. Then they leave. So our turnover rate is very high and it does not reflect our community. So when it comes to community policing, we have to really think about who we're hiring in the policy that goes into place. That is something city council and city council members can address when it comes to policy of that. And also, I would like to say that I know I have 2 minutes, but the policy around facial recognition needs to be addressed. I know the judge can speak to this, but when you find someone who is of high interest, they go to the probability of facial recognition. They have to attain a warrant. So we have to have stronger policy around getting the warrant. What does it look like? We need to have some community advisory board or committee that says, well, this person looks like this, or this person doesn't look like that. So then the situation that we had that made national news on 60 Minutes does not happen. You have to have those community events.
We are at time. We appreciate your perspective. Donna, on you.
All right. Thank you so much. We're now going to talk about the tax foreclosure crisis. The Detroit News found that Detroiters were overassessed by $600 million, which contributed to a net loss of Black homeownership in our city, which once led the nation in Black homeownership. And may I mention generational wealth? Do you believe the city is responsible for reparations to affected homeowners? And if so, how? I'm going to start with you once again, Ken Snapp.
Seems like I always get you misgiven. Yes, so to address that, the question was, do I have an idea, correct, of how to...
Questions, actually. Do you believe the city is responsible for reparations to affected homeowners? And what does that look like?
Okay. Yes, I believe the city is responsible. In, I believe, 2017, they did it. Well, the state did an audit that was $8 million that we wasted money on. And I think that they said they didn't find anything. Well, we know that it's untrue because it was an article in Forbes magazine, and a lady had lost her home. So we know folks have been losing their homes because of overassessment. And I believe it was around $3,000 per year that was overassessed for the median of each home, I believe, in Detroit. So I believe it was 117,000 citizens. So I do believe that they're responsible for that, and they look at the budget, the city looks at the budget, the mayor looks at the budget, and they know what's going on. They are responsible for the overtaxation. And my plan would be for the overtaxation is to find some type of way we can give a tax credit. It doesn't, I know we can't do it at one lump sum, but it has to be over time. Maybe we can address it over the next 5 to 10 years where we give a tax credit to each person that was overassessed. But first, we have to do a reassessment. Someone has to spend the money. It doesn't matter who it is, but first we have to do a reassessment to figure out what we were truly overassessed, because they're saying $600 million, but I believe there's more than $600 million. So that would be my idea on how to redisperse this money back to the citizens that is owed.
Okay, thank you. Judge Smith, do you believe that affected homeowners are owed reparations? And if so, what would that look like?
Absolutely. And if it's a pot of 600 million, or if it's a pot of 500 million, that pot of money we need to take that pot of money and use it to attack the structural issue in the city of Detroit. All Black people used to be poor. When we were in segregated Detroit, we were all poor. We might have had 1% of the Black community that actually were middle class. Since that time, we've had a majority of our community that have been able to move into the manufacturing arena, escape poverty, but we've got a good 35% of our community. 57% of the households in the city of Detroit are from single parent households. 35% of that of those individuals and those families are in the poverty line. I'd like to see that 600 million be used for support services to help pull single parent households that are in poverty out of poverty. I want to see supportive programs for the children. I want to see opportunities for the parents to get advancement through education, through opportunities for trade jobs, for opportunities for specialized jobs in the county or city. But we need to use that money to reinvest in the family infrastructure, which is just absolutely necessary to revitalize the city of Detroit.
Okay, thank you. Daivon Reeder, are reparations called for? And if so, can you tell us what you would do? What do you recommend?
Yes, reparations. It's past due. It's been a long time, and we knew about this problem. We knew it happened, and we keep saying like, oh, we don't know how to fix it, or we can give you preference to this and preference to programs that Detroiters should already be preferenced to. They should already have the obligation to that. It's just not. It's just ridiculous. So I'm just like I'm sure everybody's going to say proposed tax credits as well, but this is an attack on the black family, the black home ownership, and it's something that we need to address in a system way, a systemic way. We need to address how we are assessing our taxes, how we are including the neighborhoods that surrounding Metro Detroit, and how they're having an impact on our property taxes and our property value. And not only that, we need to make sure that we are spreading and advocating for home ownership across the entire Detroit and across the entire East Side. When it comes to Gratiot and 7, a lot of these citizens don't own their homes. And it's just not fair. It's not something that should exist in a time like this. We should give Detroiters tax credits and look at different avenues for home ownership. We need to work with the land bank. As a city councilman, I will work with the Detroit Land Bank to ensure the process in which attaining a home is simple for Detroiters, because the average Detroiter, we just don't know how to navigate these systems, and we need to address the protocol for rehab. 6 months for rehab for most of these homes is just not acceptable.
Thank you. Toson Knight, do you believe the city is responsible for reparations to affected homeowners? And if so, how?
Yes, I believe that the city should definitely figure out a way to be able to pay these homeowners back. And something more specific, we need to identify individuals who actually lost their homes, because we know that from the study, from the report, that people actually lost their homes, and that's so disheartening and frustrating, honestly, to me. And I believe that some ways that we can resolve those issues is by making sure that we have a connection with the land bank, and we need to identify those homes that people can move into, and we need to make sure that the city can help them. We got $400 million coming to the city of Detroit, $400 million from the federal government. We should put some of that money to help individuals repair those homes that we'll give them if they lost their home. And I think it just goes back to, which is so important, is that we need more home ownership in the city of Detroit. I think one of the issues that we have with quality of life in the neighborhoods is that we don't have enough people owning homes in the city. And we need to work with citizens to show them how to own a home, show them how to fix their credit, and make sure that we help them get homes and more home ownership. And I hope that this doesn't ever happen again. And I'll fight to make sure that we do the correct assessments each year so that people will not be overassessed.
Thank you. Latisha Johnson, do you think that affected homeowners are owed reparations? And if so, how?
It goes without saying, absolutely. We should definitely support those individuals who unfortunately lost their homes. Things that are coming to mind right now is to create community land trusts, pull properties from the Detroit Land Bank Authority, identify dollars to be able to rehab those houses, provide home improvement workshops so that people can maintain those houses. So the most devastating part for me is what you indicated, Donna, and that is recognizing that so many people lost the ability to continue to generate and build wealth through home ownership. So yes, I would definitely support it, and definitely support community land trusts and pulling properties from the Detroit Land Bank Authority to be able to make that happen.
Thank you. All right. ML Elrick, do you believe that Detroiters are owed reparations? I think you kind of answered that question in your response to the last question I asked, but what if so, how?
Sure. First of all, I think what people in District 4 are seeing tonight is what a outstanding group of candidates that they have to choose from. That's my bad luck as a candidate, but we've heard a lot of really good ideas. But I think, as in so many things, the devils are in the details with this. One of the things people aren't talking about is the 600 million, and let's assume that's the right figure. Most of those taxes didn't go to the city of Detroit. It went to the schools, to the libraries, to the county, to the jails, to the parks, to the community college. Are those agencies, are those entities prepared to put some of that money in a pot to make people whole? I think we need to talk about that, because this money is not all going to come from the city of Detroit, and this money can't come from the federal aid, because that money has earmarks on it and regulations that prevent it from being used for this, because frankly, that'd be the easiest thing right there, is let's take that money and let's put it in the pot. For me, the city is absolutely responsible, first and foremost. Second of all, I agree with providing a tax credit to people who are overtaxed. If you were tax exempt, in which case a credit would not help you, I think a cash refund is in order. And I'd also like to make a distinction between homes that were occupied by the taxpayer and homes that were rentals, because I think we all know, those of us who have rented a property, that when the landlord has to pay more, he passes it right on down to the renter. So I think we should prioritize. First of all, if you lost your home, we need to get you a home from the land bank or some other city-owned property, or give you the cash equivalent when we sell that property. Second of all, the refunds have to go to residents and not landlords first. And third of all, we have to make sure all the agencies who receive this money are prepared to put some of that money in the pot, because this is not just the city of Detroit's problem. It's a problem for multiple government agencies, and we need to make sure that we don't send them into bankruptcy when we try and do some good for people who have been done wrong.
Thank you. Ani Bomani, do you believe that Detroiters are owed reparations? And if so, how? What do you recommend?
Well, of course, Detroiters are owed reparations, and I voted against proposal N because I think it just taxed homeowners and people in Detroit more. And we haven't done anything with the funds that we have. The $600 over taxation should be returned to the people in some way by giving them homes, giving them credits for new homes, tax credits. There are many things that we can do, and a lot of that money that went that we are overtaxed for, a lot of that money went to the Downtown Development Corporation. A lot of that money went to big corporations who built up downtown and Midtown, and that money did not go into the neighborhoods. We need to make sure that money does not go to the millionaires and billionaires who seem to be exploiting the city of Detroit and depriving the neighborhoods of the kind of development they need to have. Those people, like the Downtown Development Corporation, took money out of the schools, took money out of the overtaxation, and put it into Little Caesars Arena. We need to stop giving these millionaires and these billionaires tax breaks just to come in here and exploit the people, which is what they're doing. We need to make sure everything is for the residents only. We need to make sure the money goes to the residents, build up the neighborhoods, home repair. All sorts of things need to be done in order to serve the residents. We don't need to serve the gentrifiers. We do not need to serve the corporations. And that's what we seem to be doing with the current administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bomani. We have a couple of minutes left for our facilitated Q&A, and then we want to remind those folks who are viewing on Facebook and those folks who are here on Zoom to go ahead and put your questions in the Q&A chat, because we want to hear from you as well. So the facilitated Q&A will end momentarily, and we will get to hear directly from the community, which I am excited about. Since we're talking about homes, I want to stay on a related subject. I'm switching to the tenet of home repair, and we're going to start with Mr. Bomani. The city is in an owner-occupied home repair crisis, as reported in Bridge Detroit by one of my colleagues. The onus for repairs rests on the homeowner. The average Detroiter can't afford these costly repairs. Homes go into disrepair, and then we lose another resident, and which we believe is, gentrification over time. How do you propose to stop feeding the demolition machine and get people grant dollars to fix up their homes? Mr. Bomani, you have 2 minutes.
Well, we need to make sure as the city council people, and we need progressive people on the city council to make sure that that money goes directly to the neighborhoods, because we've had the kind of city council now that makes sure that the money goes to the millionaires and billionaires and gentrifiers and not the people in the neighborhoods, and give them grants, not loans, to make sure that they can repair their homes and give them the kind of knowledge and incentive and direction in order to be able to use that money wisely, and to go to Detroit contractors, Detroit-based contractors, not new people who just showed up or just got a new address, but people who have been here. And there's plenty of contractors in the city of Detroit who have done work for years and years and years, going back to the Coleman Young era, but we always seem to be providing money and using contractors from outside the city of Detroit. To me, that is a scam. That the administration is using using the money that we should be giving to these home repair grants to give to people who come from the outside. We need to make sure Detroit is for Detroiters. The money needs to go to Detroiters, and we need to stop playing. And that's what we're doing. We're serving the gentrifiers, we're serving downtown, we're serving the rich, but we're not serving the people in the neighborhoods. Grassroots organizing is what we need to be doing to make sure that the people get what they need and get what they want and get what they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bomani. ML, homes fall into disrepair. Residents can't afford the repairs. They end up moving out. It becomes a blighted structure, and then it has to be demolished. How do you propose we stop the bleeding? You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, Orlando, you're absolutely right. We've been knocking on doors since January, and one of the leading concerns we hear from neighbors in neighborhoods where home prices are rising is that they are losing their longtime neighbors, mainly seniors who can't keep up with home repairs because they're on a fixed income. And here's something where the federal money can be used. And I favor setting aside tens, if not $100 million for grants for seniors, low-income loans. If we have to put some sort of lien on someone's home, they can be repaid once that house is sold or when the homeowner passes on. Whatever we have to do to put money in the hands of people who need to make those repairs. This should be income-based, and roofs should be a priority, because anybody who's driven through Detroit knows those blue tarps don't last forever. And when they get raggedy, not only do they not work, but they look terrible. And once a roof has a hole in it, then the whole house goes to hell, because when the water comes in, there go the floors, then there go the ceilings, then there go the walls. So we've got to seal up these homes from the roof on down. In addition to the federal money, again, that's a finite amount of money. That's going to be gone someday. We need to get foundations, nonprofits, charities, churches, and unions to work together to put together a revolving fund that we can use to keep this program going into the future. And we need to get some donated labor. We need to get some of these union apprentice programs, getting some hands-on experience stabilizing these homes and helping people who deserve our help. If you've lived in this city for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, and you've been holding down your neighborhood, we do not want you to go. We need you. We need you more than the new Detroiters, because you're the ones who have kept Detroit alive. We have to do everything we can to keep you in that home and to keep providing a safe place for the Detroiters who have made the city what it is and who are laying a foundation for it to be even greater than it is today, which, if you ask me, is pretty damn good.
Thank you, ML. Latisha, the question on the table, this cycle of homes falling into disrepair because residents cannot afford the home repair, and it eventually leads to a blighted structure, and then it has to be demolished. It's a vicious cycle. How do you propose we stop the bleeding? You have 2 minutes.
So this is kind of twofold. So number one, we have to make sure that we are intentional about supporting residents throughout the city of Detroit with our tax dollars. In the current budget, there is $3.5 million earmarked for home repair grants. If they gave everybody $20,000, that's only 170 homes. It's not enough. It's not nearly enough, especially recognizing that we have houses that are nearing a century old. It takes a lot of money to maintain these houses, and we have to make sure that we support the residents for being here as long as they've been here and providing some grant funding to be able to maintain their homes. I would also support some of the American Rescue Plan dollars helping to facilitate that. We also should make sure that we are providing skill building programs that leads to jobs within these industries. Mecca Development Corporation actually has home improvement workshops that we do. And as part of the program, the attendees that go through the program are required to give back to residents in the neighborhood by doing 2 pro bono service projects to help to maintain these properties. When we talk about renters, we need to make sure that we are staying ahead of code enforcement. Code enforcement is extremely important to make sure that these houses do not become blighted, do not continue to decay, and that the renters are living in good quality housing so that that house does not end up on the demolition list. And I do wholeheartedly agree that it does help lead to gentrification, because what's going to happen is all of these swaths of land will be redeveloped. They will have new properties built on them that longtime Detroiters will not be able to afford. We have to recognize that that is the fact of the matter. We will deal with issues of financing.
And we are at time, Latisha. Thank you so much.
You.
Toson Knight, this vicious cycle of homes falling into disrepair, residents unable to fix their homes, and eventually these homes needing to be demolished. How do you propose we stop the bleeding?
Yeah, as you all say, you all have identified this issue very well, because like going to their doors and seeing just the many times that people, I went to Lady's house and her whole front porch is gone. Like, she's 94 years old. She can't get out the house. And I think that what's important that we need to do is, like, we have these American Rescue Plan dollars. We need to put a certain amount of that towards home repair. That's first and foremost. We need to make sure that we allocate money towards home repair. The second thing, I think it goes to a bigger issue as it relates to not even just the senior citizens, but I'm thinking about overall, why can't our people, why can't they afford to fix their homes? It's because of the jobs, the lack of jobs. And we need to make sure that people are employed with living wage jobs. And as a city council person, what I'll do is I'll make sure that I approve contracts that support a living wage, so that people are able to take care of their homes, that they don't have to depend on grants, but they can take care of it for themselves. And for our seniors, consistently fight to make sure that we put more money in home repair. And as it was stated before, it needs to be a community. I went to a lady's house yesterday. She said that she hasn't been in her basement in 3 years. Not because she's scared to go down there, not because she can't go down there, but because the people on her block wash her clothes, take care of anything that messes up, they help her fix. We need to build those communities back in our city. And I was just like so blown away by that. And I want to see us build our blocks block by block and make sure that we are funding these home repair loans from the city.
Thank you, Toson Knight. All right, Daivon, this vicious cycle of homes falling into disrepair, residents can't afford to pay them, and then we have to end up demolishing those homes. How do you propose we stop the bleeding? You have 2 minutes.
I'm going to stress again, Joe Biden is giving these funds as an American rescue. Detroiters need rescue. In this category, Detroit needs help. So we need to allocate a lot of those funds to Detroit homeowner repair. And also, I will share that in my workforce pipeline initiative, I want to introduce more trade and skill programming to allow our Detroiters to become a part of that change and become be the change we need from within, right? And also, I will share that I have 2 neighbors that just instantly come to mind. I have one neighbor who is a contractor, and he's actually putting on an internship program where he's inviting the youth in his neighborhood to come and learn how to build up these homes and fix these homes, and he's going to help them get the accreditation that they need. And right down the street, I have a neighbor, I call him CJ. He bought at least 4 homes that was on the Detroit Land Bank website, and he's rehabbing them for the community, where he's going to allow community members to live in these homes for close to nothing. And not only that, the unique part is he's getting the community members to rehab the home for free. All he's doing is providing them with a little music and food every day, and you can see them out there working. So that one promotes that community aspect that we need again, and also us being able to change from within and develop our homes.
Thank you, Daivon. Judge Smith, how do you propose we stop feeding the demolition machine and get people the resources they need to fix their homes? You have 2 minutes. Judge Smith, if you're speaking, you're on mute. There you
My
go.
apologies, my dogs were barking, so I muted myself. I'd like to see, I think we first need to understand what the problem is. So I would like to see the Detroit Department responsible for housing to look at the number of houses that were lost and were foreclosed on, and let us know who were living in those houses, on what basis those houses were foreclosed on, and what we could have done to help keep that family in that house. We moved from a manufacturing society to a technical society. And as that change occurred, the family structure was not there to continue to support the houses that were built in the 50s and the 60s. So what we see now is the jobs are not there. The children that inherited those houses are not having sufficient employment. We need to start in the beginning. We need to understand what the problem is, and we need to attack it in a systemic fashion. I'd like to see community-based organizations and churches work to rebuild the community. I want to see the labor effort with the carpenters and the plumbers and the electricians help train our young people through these community-based organizations so we can rehabilitate our own homes. And yes, there definitely has to be money that's there for senior citizens and for those that have worked their entire lives in the city of Detroit that can't afford to rehabilitate their houses. Has to occur. We can rise the city, but we have to do it in a smart way.
Thank you, Judge Smith. Ken Snapp, you have the last word on this question. How do we stop feeding the demolition machine here in our city and give folks the resources they need to fix up their homes? You have 2 minutes.
So interesting enough, I have been working on this topic with our seniors. I've been helping with Senior Power Days, Michigan Senior Power Days here in Detroit that services thousands of seniors from Macomb, Oakland to Wayne County. One thing, they had a program that was in place. I don't know if you guys know about the 0% home repair loans that gives $5,000 to $25,000 to help Detroit owners reinvest into their property. The problem is they can't get people to come out. So the programs are there, but if you can't get people to come out, or they can't use the technology to request for these people to come out, then it doesn't make sense. So one thing that I want to do, I think that could possibly help this, because I don't believe in recreating the wheel. I believe of working with what we have. If we can create a community engagement tool, I think that's important because we're saying we're progressive, but we're not upgrading our systems and not upgrading our interaction with citizens. I've spoke to two sisters who are 65 and I believe 70. They couldn't get in touch with the city to make these calls or to get these repairs. So they have the opportunity and space to do what they need to do, but no one has, come by or explained to them what's going on. And that's across the board with all our seniors. They don't know technology. We have a digital divide, a digital gap. Our district 4, I have a buddy that works for Verizon. He tells me that we have the highest percentage of lack of broadband, I should say. I can't word it correctly, but a lot of folks don't have access to internet. So for all these services that are presented, we can't get the information out to people. And that seems like to be a huge problem in District 4. I believe that once we get these information to people can take advantage of things that we have. It's a 0% loan from $5,000 to $25,000 that's already available. We have to be smarter, and we have to, be more progressive when it comes to our policies. I think that if we can do that, I think we're going to be in a better position.
Thank you. Donna, unmute yourself and you get the last question, and then we're going to hear from the community. I'm excited.
I'm actually going to take this from the community. I just want to point out a couple things, and I apologize, Orlando, but I feel compelled to just point out a couple things. Number one, not only do we owe reparations in some people's minds to people who lost their homes, but also to pensioners whose pensions were cut and whose health care was cut, who cannot afford certain things because of something that they did not believe was possible. And that was that the compact between themselves and the city and the pension boards was broken in the effort to, negotiate a bankruptcy. And unfortunately, as the artwork was made whole, the people were not. And so I want to hold out something, because I believe retirees should be allowed to be retired and shouldn't have to go through job training in order to afford their lifestyles once they have served our community all of their lives. And so just had to put that in there, because I hope that we think about that as we consider our answers. One of the questions, a real big question for many of us, is the lack of recreation centers in District 4. And District 4 does not have a recreation center at all. District 5 has a couple, but the Butzel Family Center does not provide a full range of recreation. As we talk about, having a healthy, fit community, what do you propose to bring justice to District 4? Because I believe the current city charter requires a recreation center in every district, and it seems like we're in violation, and we've just decided that we cannot afford to comply. So what would you do to finally comply with the city charter and bring those resources to our community? I'm going to start once again with you, Ken Snapp, because you are, I'm going backwards.
Yes. So as I stated earlier, I'm not in favor of recreating the wheel. And when it comes to our children, like I said earlier, I'm a basketball coach, and I've been a mentor to thousands of kids in our district, actually around Brown Academy. The problem is that they say we don't have money, but at the same time, we do have these schools. We have middle schools and we have high schools that can enable us to use those resources, use those tracks, those pools, those workout facilities in the summer. I know that they did a program 2 years ago, right before COVID hit, where we were using the pools, we were using the tracks, the workout facilities. If we can amplify that effort and make it, after, sports are happening, because, you have that conflict of interest with the sports teams at the schools. But if we can make it a priority to at least get our kids into these pools, into these workout rooms, onto these tracks, and having city funded and DPSCD a coalition with them, we can make something happen. I believe that that's something that is easy to do, not recreating the wheel, and can address it until we have those funds, and we go and find those funds to create our own long-term recreation centers.
One question before I go. Are you suggesting that every neighborhood has equitable access to schools to swimming pools?
Yes.
They do? Every neighborhood in Detroit has that?
They did in the summer 2 years ago. The mayor enacted a plan where they did that for the summer, where people were able to use the pools and use the tracks.
People in District 4 know that there's a school with a swimming pool that they can access. All right, on to Virgil Smith. Judge Smith, what would you do to address the gap in recreation with the city charter?
Well, one, I would make sure that there's a recreation center built in the 4th district. And I would like to see services rendered out of that recreation district that not only offer recreational services, but I also want to see supportive services in that recreation center. I want to see a mental health professional, because I don't want the police responding to police calls. I want to send out a mental health professional that's housed in the recreation center. I want to see a counselor in the recreation center working with the counselors at the schools, because I like to see the schools put the counselors back in the school system. And I also think that we need to have cooperation and a coordinated plan to give those type of services through this recreational center, so that we can send out mental health professionals to respond to mental health calls. We can have family counselors to work with Wayne County Child and Family Services to help address the specific needs of residents in that district who are in poverty and have children. We need to have coordinated activities in terms of community-based organizations offering art, culture, and everything else. But it has to also be in coordination with the schools. I don't care whether it's a public school or charter school. We need access to those fields. We need access to those swimming pools, and they should be open to city residents as they were when I was growing up, because I could go up to Persian High School and go swimming at night because they opened the schools to allow community-based folks to come there and use those activities. We should be able to do that again.
Okay. Daivon Reeder, what do
I'm going to say this. we need a recreational center. If we want to address public safety, we have to have a recreation center. We have to have somewhere where our youth can go and play. We understand that our neighborhoods are becoming more dangerous, and we need to address that as well. But a recreation center is a key part of public safety. I know that the American Rescue Plan doesn't have that many funds, but that should be in the priority of public safety. The mayor is proposing to do a new police academy or training facility. That can go on the back burner. We need to put Detroiters first, and Detroiters need recreation. It's just that simple. And I got this idea that every entity of our city is saying, well, we don't have to work with them. We don't have to do this. This is separate from that. DPSCD is separate entity, right? But they have so many empty buildings that it's just sitting there. They're not being used for anything. They can donate a building to the city where we can rehab that into a recreation center. And maybe the city can offer something in return where the students of that area don't pay a recreational fee, or they have priority to the gymnasium. Something can be offered where we can use some of these buildings, some of these churches that's just sitting there, and they're just they're not being used. We can use them, we can rehab them, and we can get our community organizations involved in this as well. That gives us an opportunity. And often throughout my campaign, you're going to hear me talk about the people and community involvement, because that's what I think we need to get back as Detroiters. That's something that I grew up. I knew my neighbors had my best interests, and I want that same thing to happen for my nephew and my siblings. So I would say, let's rely on our other governmental entities, and let's come together as a city to address this. We can get a recreation center. If we can find funds for other things, we can put our children at a priority and get us somewhere safe to play, safe to grow up in.
All right, Toson Knight, what would you do to bring us into compliance and open a recreation center in District 4?
You know, the mayor is really good at raising philanthropic dollars for a lot of stuff. And I think that one of the most important things to do is push the mayor to put a lot of emphasis on raising money for a recreation center in the city of Detroit. And that's one thing that I'll do. I'll make sure that I'll fight in budget talks to make sure we put money towards recreation, a recreation center in the city of Detroit. I'll fight for the $400 million, part of that to go towards a recreation center. And I think, like, you know, we also, to keep these things going, ECN has proven time and time again that they know how to work with youth with the Teen Vault Center, which I was excited to be a part of the inaugural, bring some of my mentees to the inaugural group. So ECN has done a great job with, providing youth a space to go to in the city of Detroit. And I believe working with groups like yourself to help identify a location and help manage a recreation center, because we know the city can't do everything, but we can work with different groups to make sure that it gets done. So I'll do that. I'm big on recreation. That's one of my top priorities. And I believe that we can get it done if you support me as city council member.
All right, Latisha Johnson, what would you do to help bring about a recreation center in our community and bring us compliance with the charter?
So number one, it's all about prioritization of funds. In the upcoming city budget, $6.5 million are earmarked for beautification. And while we'd all like to see beautification, I think we have to have a community center, not just for youth, but a community center for all residents throughout our community. We need to prioritize that instead of the $1 million that we are prioritizing for youth programming during the summer. So during the time that we are in the process of rehabbing a facility or creating a facility, we can utilize, nonprofit organizations, faith-based organizations, as well as different entities who have facilities that we can temporarily use, but we have to make sure that we prioritize those dollars. Having a community center is important for the young people. It's important for seniors to be able to go and do different activities. It's important for community organizations to be able to connect with residents throughout the community, so that as we are identifying new initiatives or asking the community, what would you like to see? We have access to people. It's easier to access them if we are all going to utilize a community center within our neighborhood. So it's extremely important to prioritize the residents as opposed to other things that to me can be a bit frivolous. And those things are things that we can delay doing. And really, I think work with residents throughout the community to help assist with beautification.
Thank you. ML Elrick, what would you do to bring about a community center in District 4 and bring this bring us into compliance with the city charter?
Sure. Well, first of all, I've been around long enough to remember when we had Cannon Rec Center. And I remember when Finney got a brand new floor, beautiful gym floor, and then they tore down Finney. So I just don't understand what we're doing. One of the key things is we do need a rec center. The Ralph Wilson Foundation is working towards it. The mayor has said he wants to use $100 million of that American Rescue Plan money for recreation centers and community assets. I think that's absolutely appropriate. And if that's not enough money to get us a rec center, I think we need to increase the amount of those ARPA funds that are coming to the district. But I'm not for waiting on this, and I'm not for letting City Hall dictate our schedule. I'm all about strategic partnerships. When Eagles Sports out of Grace Church started at Baldock, when Baldock was a rec, I was a coach there, and we helped clean up that park. And we got grant money to restore the ball fields and to make that a place where kids could play. I worked with folks in Clark Park to try and keep that recreation center that's supported by the community open. I've seen the Eastside Hockey Arena be a private thing that was taken over by a foundation. The MAC Athletic Complex. We do have recreational facilities within the district. And what we need to do is make sure people know what their opportunities are right now. I do believe the schools offer some of these facilities and they should be accessible. When I was a school commissioner, we had an open gym night so people in the community could come into our beautiful gym and enjoy the recreational facilities we have available right now. I'm a trained communicator, and I think we have lots of assets available right now. People just don't know about them. And we need somebody who can tell people that there are wonderful things among us right now. And my goal is to form these creative partnerships, these strategic partnerships, where we take the assets that we have, we make sure people know that they're available, and we help get people in there and enjoying themselves right now while we demand that the city live up to its obligation. We don't need to wait. We can do this right now.
Thank you. Ani Bomani, what would you do to bring us into compliance with the rec center?
Well, for one thing, excuse me, some of the money that they're using now for these speed bumps and these bike lanes, some of that is unnecessary. A lot of that money could have been used for recreation centers. A lot of the money that we've been overtaxed with should have been used for recreation centers and providing programs such as access to computers, access to supportive services. I think as somebody said, all these things could be in these recreation centers. And if you provide job training, then those people can give back. Once they go through the program, once they become more successful, they will start to give back to their community. You know, so we need to put money, we need to prioritize our money and where it goes. Again, stop giving it to these downtown development corporations. Stop giving it to these millionaires and billionaires and tax them to put money. That's what Joe Biden wants to do. He wants to tax these millionaires and billionaires, and they're getting off the hook. They're not doing their fair share. They get these tax abatements and tax credits and tax relief, and they can do whatever they want to with it, and they don't get back to the neighborhoods at all. They need to get back. Plus, a lot of these corporations are actually polluting the neighborhoods, like Fiat Chrysler. They need to give some of this money and provide the jobs that they promised for people when they came into this area. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bomani, and thank you to all of the candidates. So we have, of course, a litany, a litany of questions from our viewers who are here on Zoom and on Facebook. And so I'm going to ask our event organizers to send me some questions from the community, and we will make sure that we ask them. One of the first questions that came up is about Pride Month. So June is Pride Month, and this person is wondering what the candidates would do to support housing, employment, public safety, and other issues affecting the LGBTQ community, especially Black trans women. Are you in favor of amending the state's Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act to be more inclusive of this community? Any candidate can get in on that question.
Absolutely. That's an easy one. No one should face discrimination, period.
I supported the Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act when I was in the legislature in 1977. Absolutely. The LBT community should be included in that act.
Right. There should be no discrimination at all against any of the citizens of the city of Detroit. There should be no discrimination at all. We need to make sure everybody is treated equally through the law, through the process, all the things that they deserve. We should not discriminate at all. This should be an open city that provides for all its residents, regardless of what issues that they say, regardless of whether they're LBGT or whether they're Black trans or Black people. Everybody should be treated fairly in the city of Detroit.
And I would make sure that we have non-discriminatory policies to make sure that people are not discriminated against.
I agree. I am in support of any progress for all Detroiters. We need to make sure that we are putting the safety in the progress for all Detroiters, and understand that we need to embrace and celebrate the difference. We need to understand that as people, we are different, and safety is important for everybody. And I'm an advocate for safety. I'm an advocate for Detroiters, and I'm an ally.
I concur with everything that's been said so far. And I also believe just having a sit down with that organization as well, learning more about their issues and concerns. I think that would be great.
Go ahead, Ken.
I definitely agree with everyone. I think that we should definitely prohibit discriminatory practices and policies. And also we need to adopt intersectionalism and understand what that means, and actually have the conversations with the LGBTQ plus community and understand what they really want and what they really want to be represented for.
Thank you, Ken Snapp. I want to acknowledge something that's said in the chat. A viewer, Cook M, said, what about white folks or non-Black folks? I think the reason why this person who posed the question specifically called out Black trans women is because Black trans women are being killed. They're being murdered at a disproportionate rate in the United States of America. And so I think that's why the question was posed in that way. I want to go to the next question. From another viewer, given that access to transportation is the #1 barrier to climbing out of poverty and the environmentally racist policies that have prioritized moving cars quickly through our city, how will you prioritize improving transportation and mobility options for our residents and making streets safer for all of its users? Anybody can jump in on that.
Well, first of all, I'd like to see our neighborhoods be a place where we can live, work, shop, dine, play, and basically be within walking or biking distance of our homes. So I think if we can create communities that are more complete, that reduces some of the strain on the transportation system. And frankly, I'd like to see less reliance on having to go great distances to take care of your business.
Yeah, I think, one of the major things in the city is like, you want to be able to create neighborhoods. Like, I think about Harper, I think about Mack, Jefferson, and I don't know if anybody has ever seen what has happened over at Livernois recently, but just being able to create those walkable neighborhoods and making sure that people can go there and shop and enjoy shopping there. When I go on Livernois all the time now, it's a pleasure to go there. And I think, like a lot of my young people, they take the bus. We need to make sure that they know like when the buses are going to show up. I think it's simple things that we can do to make sure that those things become, more appealing to the residents, because a lot of people just like, oh, the busing is not reliable, so I'm not going to take it. I'm going to Uber. So I think we just need to find ways to make our busing system, more appropriate for our people.
I would like to say the first problem is realizing if you ever fly to Detroit, and we all have family who live outside the states, the first thing they say, well, I have to rent a car. The regional transit is abysmal almost. You can't get out of Detroit without paying $60 to $100 to catch an Uber just to get onto a plane that's coming in or out. We have to address that systemic racism that has avoided our people from continuing to other communities where a lot of our folks work. So we have to be advocates against systemic racism when it comes to transportation. Also, as Toson stated, we do have to create a newer system so it can be more safe for our residents, our children who catch the bus, because Toson knows that, and I both know as mentors, our children are catching the bus from 6 a.m., 5 a.m., all the way till about 9 o'clock at night. It's unsafe that we have bus times that span that long. We have to get these kids home safely and in an orderly time.
Most Detroiters do not have access to cars.
Yeah, we
And-
need, sorry.
Oh, most Detroiters do not have access to cars. I would like to see a more coordinated transportation system that helps get Detroiters to jobs, not only inside Detroit, but outside Detroit. And I agree with Ken Snapp that we have to attack systemic racism, and we have to go at getting a coordinated, organized metropolitan transportation system. So if the jobs are outside Detroit, our young people can actually get to these jobs, and we need to be able to make sure that they can move around Detroit, since most of them do not have access to cars as a way to get to employment and shop and do other activities.
When you look, sorry, Donna, just very quickly, when you look throughout metropolitan cities that are thriving, we see mass transit systems that are functioning very well. We need to make sure we continue to work on that as a regional issue within the Detroit area. And also as it relates to the bike lanes that we now have seen popped up within all of our communities. One of the most important things we need to do is to make sure that they are protected bike lanes. So within the East Warren corridor, we just had a vote last week, and most of us were supportive of the design that actually puts a concrete curb that protects the bikers so that everybody has the ability to move throughout our community safely.
I believe that as leaders, we need to advocate for road repairs in our city. We need to advocate for that as much as we can, voice our opinion, be that squeaky wheel to get that done. And moving forward, like, yeah, it's ideal for everything to be walking distance, but it's not. So we need to advocate for affordable, safe, and green. Emphasis on the green transportation in Detroit.
Thank you, Daivon, because you helped me transition to the next question. I've got to get an environmental question in here, right? We talk about mass transit and driving as if driving is the preferable route. We know that our climate is in trouble. And we feel that climate inequity in places like Detroit. We've had a number of questions about the environmental injustice and racism, and it's all, transportation, environmental justice, racism are all intermixed. My question for you all, and anybody can answer, is what would you do to increase environmental justice in District 4 to ensure that we are working to save our planet, but also the people who live inside our district?
I'm going to start off first by saying prioritizing the health of the citizens. It's just that simple. Prioritizing the health of the citizens over the income and revenue. We need to address the illegal dumpings. We can't keep sitting by and being witness to these illegal dumpings. We need to address the lead in our paint. Over 73% of our houses in Detroit are infected with lead-based paint. It's ridiculous. We need to make sure that we are addressing affordable and clean water. DPD, right before the pandemic, shut down their water fountains, and we're relying on hydration stations and the community to bring water bottles. I shouldn't have to send my younger sister to school with a water bottle for the day. Water should be accessible to all Detroiters, and we need to start holding these big companies accountable for what they're doing to our community. It's just that simple.
I agree that the Chrysler Corporation and many of these corporations are polluting our areas. If we had a decent community benefits ordinance to force these large corporations to clean up their act and stop polluting, and maybe we could start convincing these corporations to start, some of these car companies to go electric, to go green. I mean, this is the most practical. This is what's going to save our planet. Our planet is not going to make it if we continue with fossil fuel. I know this is a revolutionary idea, but we cannot continue as a human race. They are destroying the health and safety of not only our young people, but also our senior citizens. We need to survive. We need to make it. And if they continue to pollute, and over in the 4th district, I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but every week it smells like gas. The whole area smells like gas. I mean, I think that the place is gonna blow up one of these days. It smells like gas. I complain to DTE, they don't do anything. They act like they don't even know what's going on, like they just heard it. But it happens all the time. You need to hold these corporations accountable and start moving towards a green economy. And the green economy will also provide jobs for our young people, training that they could get inside these recreation centers. And you need to open these libraries back up too. Thank you.
You know,
Regulatory.
something that's very important for us as legislators or potential legislators is to deal with facts as well. We need to know how much pollution is happening, from where is it coming from, and I think like having those ideas will give us a a pathway to how to deal with it. Because right now everybody can just say, oh, this company's polluting or that company's polluting, but we need to make sure that we're actually putting systems in place to be able to measure that. My understanding is that the Fiat Chrysler has air quality that lets you know when it's going over certain levels. And I think we need to do that across the city with different organizations and companies. And so then we'll be able to address the issues that are happening with the air quality, because as we know, it is very important. I work in Southwest Detroit, and I know they dealt with those issues time and time again.
We need the regulatory, well, okay.
Go ahead, Judge Smith. Judge Smith, please finish.
No, please.
Well, we need the regulatory agencies to do their job. We need the state regulatory agencies, the city of Detroit's regulatory agencies, the Wayne County, which are over air pollution, which are over pollution of the water. They need to have their feet held to the fire. We need to know what they're doing. We need to know how they're protecting the citizenry. And anytime they don't step up to properly make sure that those pollutants are not coming in our community, we need to make sure that the government agencies that are overseeing them feel the fire and the heat from the citizens of the city of Detroit through their elected leaders.
Can I say something really quick?
After ML.
Okay, thank you.
Just briefly, I would say that I like to look at opportunity where other people see crisis. And the fact that we have so much vacant land, a lot of that I think can be converted to solar fields, where we can then feed power back into the grid, get a credit, and that credit can be used to help reduce the power bills of our neighbors who can't afford to keep the lights on and the heat going. So in addition to repurposing some of that land, I think we can actually use it to generate some of the power that we need to reduce the coal emissions, to reduce burning fossil fuels, and to help keep our neighbors safe and warm.
All right, Ken, go for it.
So interesting fact, I know we're talking about FCA. I talked to Jerry King, who's a UAW community advocate, and they were saying that the new plant that's building the SUVs from FCA, it's putting out almost 600 million tons, I believe, or 600 tons. I forget the exact number, but it's creating more waste. I know Jerry talked about we need more mature vegetated buffers, meaning more trees, more things that take that carbon oxidation out, and they help us breathe better, because a lot of people in those areas have asthma. So we need to talk about that. And I think that if we can get more mature vegetation around those areas, that can also, decrease, I would say, viral infections, and as folks that have asthma, we can actually help them out with planting more trees.
And one thing to add to that is to make sure that, because we're seeing more industry pop up within District 4, we need to make sure that we hold these corporations accountable for truck routes and making sure that the trucks are going the proper route to reduce the amount of emissions that are in our residential communities, and hold them accountable for doing that, as well as adding more of trees that do provide the carbon buffers for our residents.
Thank you, Latisha. Go ahead, Donna.
8 p.m. And I'm willing to continue this conversation, but we do have a few updates we want to share. And if you want to stay on after 8 p.m., you're certainly welcome. Before that, I really want to get the second poll in. Can we get a second poll up? And then we can continue conversation for her.
Well, actually, Donna, let's do this. Let's get the second poll up, and then provide the candidates the opportunity for their closing remarks in case they have to go.
That's right. Thank you.
All right.
Let's. Did this forum help you in making a more informed decision for the upcoming election?
If you are on Facebook, please answer this poll question in the comment section for us.
Donna, can you repeat the question one more time for the
Did this
Facebook?
forum help you in making a more informed decision for the upcoming election? All right, so we have, when we get to 80%, I will, oh, there we are at 80%. We'll wait, try to get 100% if we can. We're at 80% now. We're gonna wait 10 more seconds and then I'll share the results of the poll and then you can go into your closing arguments. I'm gonna jump off and re-access by phone because I have to get moving, but I want to be here for the rest of the conversation. All right, so I'm gonna end the poll. And 92% of the people who responded said yes. 8% said no. Congratulations to the candidates for helping voters make up their minds. This was a very, lots of great answers, lots of great candidates, and I'm sure the choices are going to be hard. But we're going to let you now enter into your closing statements. And then if you have time, a couple more questions perhaps, and some announcements from ECN that you don't want to miss so that you can know how to stay connected to our work.
All right, thank you, Donna. I am going to switch up the order a little bit and go by who is appearing on my screen first. Daivon Reeder, you have 2 minutes for your closing statements.
I'm sorry, I was actually typing the closing statement to the group. But I want to start off by saying thank you for everybody for joining this conversation. And thank you again for the organization that put this together. And I'm a candidate that is going to be solution oriented. I'm going to approach all of Detroit problems with solution. My track record shows it. As an undergraduate at Eastern Michigan, I've seen a problem on Eastern Michigan campus with the retention rate with Black males. And I started a nonprofit to address that. I then came home and served as a school teacher in our public school system. And during my time as a school teacher, I helped hundreds of students graduate from high school, and now many of them are attending 2 and 4 year institutes. Again, I know the problems. I have faced the problems myself. My mom has raised me to identify the problems and tackle the problems. For far too long, we have been hearing people say what we need to change, and we have elected people to make those changes, but they get up there and they bump elbows and rub hands and forget about the voters, forget about the people who matter. I am dedicated to being a true son of Detroit, a true Eastsider, and understanding that all my decisions and my actions will be a direct reflection of what the community wants, what the citizens want in District 4 and on the East Side. And I express again, I'm a people person, I'm a community person, and I am dedicated to dedicated to the citizens who don't have a voice, to the ones who weren't aware of this conversation or who don't have the technology to join us in this conversation. I don't want those people to be forgotten. I want every Detroiter to be a part of the process. Again, Daivon Reeder, you can check out my campaign and my 4-point plan at my website.
We are at time. Thank you, Daivon. Ken Snapp, you have 2 minutes for your closing remarks.
Again, thank you guys for hosting Eastside Community and Orlando and Ms. Givens. Thank you so much for taking your time out to allow us to, voice our opinions and see different input from other of our colleagues. But I just want folks to remember that this is about policy, and I'm going to continue to stress it. This is about policy. This is not about who's more popular or who is putting out yard signs, or it's really about policy right now. You have to think about who's going to review and approve the annual budget in your favor, who's going to establish long and short-term objectives, who's going to establish tax rates for these businesses that are coming in, and it seems like they're getting off willy-nilly. You got to think about that. Who's going to communicate policies and programs to residents? Who's actually going to be more progressive That's what this is about. It's not a popularity contest. It's not about marketing, and it's not about personal agendas. We have to remember that going forward. So I like to leave you with saying, I've been from day one. I've talked about policy. I've talked about being progressive and actually standing for the citizens. I've lived in the district probably longer, I think the longest since I was born. So I understand the plight. I understand the problems. I can only talk about them, for so long until we actually have to get ready to do things and create the policy that represents the community, and also be more progressive and go out into the nation and putting Detroit at the forefront of progressive conversations instead of being at the backseat to California, to more progressive states like that. I think that once we do that, Detroit can be progressive in policy. Detroit can be progressive in livelihood. Detroit can be progressive when it comes to engaging in community. I think that we have to focus on policy in this upcoming election across the board.
Thank you, Ken Snapp. Latisha Johnson, you have 2 minutes for your closing remarks.
Thank you to Eastside Community Network for and Authentically Detroit for putting on this candidate forum. So many people ask me if we were going to come together. So I think what a lot of people may see is that a lot of what we talked about pretty much aligns. I think one thing that's extremely important is for us to make sure that we look at people's track record. What have we done? Have we represented the voice of the people within the community since we've been in the community? I've lived in District 4 for over 28 years. I've actually lived in 5 neighborhoods throughout District 4, and 3 of the properties where I lived no longer exist. That is one thing that I want to make sure that I change. Equitable development is an extremely important area for me. Making sure that we provide affordable housing. We're intentional about that, making sure that we provide support to small businesses, making sure that we do bring in a community center or 2 within our district. Environmental justice is another area that's extremely important to me. We have basement backups that we're seeing throughout this entire district. We have seawalls that are dilapidated that need to be addressed. We have water rates that are astronomical for some. St. Louis has flat water rates. Why can't Detroit? We need to make sure that we put our residents as first priority and that our communities are a #1 priority in anything that we do. So I say again to you all, make sure you take a look at what we've done, not just what we say we're going to do. I am Latisha Johnson. My website is latishajohnson.com. I stand for accountability and transparency and look forward to connecting with all of you as I move forward in this campaign. I appreciate your time and thank you all so much for being here and listening.
Thank you, Latisha. Right on time. Toson Knight, you have 2 minutes for your closing remarks.
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy I was able to share, just my thoughts and what I've done, so far in the city. I think what's important is we need to look at what have people done in this area. If you go around District 4, you will see that there are people that I've been able to assist throughout my years being over here. And I don't know if I'm having spent a lot of time, probably been over here about 7 years now, but those 7 years have been strong. We've mentored, I can't even count the amount of kids. I can't tell you, we've sent over 50 kids to college, and the things that we've done to really make our neighborhoods better on a consistent basis. And what I believe that's important as a council person is that when you call, we answer. That when you have an issue, we resolve it, no matter what, not give you the runaround, not tell you, we can't resolve it or it's not the right place. I'm gonna let you know if I'm gonna make sure that I work in resolving your issues on a consistent basis. That's what I've done for the years I've been up here. That's what I'll continue to do. I believe that my council office will be a one-stop office, that when you call there, we'll make all the other calls for you just to make sure that your issues are being resolved. And we always need volunteers. We always need support. So I ask the people, if you want to join this campaign, please email us tusonfordetroit@gmail.com. If you are looking for a yard sign, we have plenty yard signs to go out. Please feel free to hit us up for that as well. Because as we continue to knock on doors and continue to talk to people, and the doorbell rings at this time. We'll make sure that's my time, right? So we'll make sure that we address all your issues. We'll make sure that we get the job done. You count on that as a city council, me as a city council person to do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Toson Knight. Judge Smith, you have 2 minutes for your closing remarks.
I was raised in the political arena and working in my dad's business. I've been a public servant ever since I was 29 years old. I was the first African-American ever elected in the northeast side of Detroit. After we beat the state representative, then we beat the state senator, then we beat the county commissioner. Our communities have been discriminated against ever since we've been in this country. For myself, in all of the efforts that I've had, both in the legislature and the courts, I've been true to my commitment of being a good public servant. I have worked hard at being a good public servant, and I think I've had some success. I've tackled a lot of issues. When I went to the circuit court, I chose to go in the juvenile division because 80% of the African-American youth coming through there were African-American. I wanted to make sure there was an African-American male that was in that division, that was in charge, that was trying to make sure that we could do all we could to try to pull them out of the abuse and neglect that they suffered within our community. I attacked that abuse and neglect. I attacked the generational neglect at the juvenile court. We put a task force together. We involved all aspects of the juvenile community, from the social workers to the attorneys, to the community, to the courts, to the county, and we had good success in reducing generational neglect. But that was all the symptoms. The problem is poverty. I intend to attack poverty. I want to go after 35% of hardcore poverty from single parent households with children. And I want to make sure I can do all I can to help eliminate it.
Thank you, Judge Smith. You know, it's so hard to cut off the judge because I'm sure the judge is used to everybody being silent when he is speaking. So sorry, Judge Smith.
Thank you, Orlando.
Thank you, Judge Smith. ML Elrick, you have 2 minutes for your closing remarks.
Thanks. First of all, I want to thank Orlando and Donna and everybody who submitted questions, and ECN for making this opportunity available. And I want to tell everybody how much respect and appreciation and admiration I have for everybody else who wants this office. I'm not a career politician. I've never run for anything before in my life. I've usually gotten drafted to do things like being a union officer and an organizer and someone who's stuck up for my colleagues and my coworkers. I'm not doing this because I need the job. I had to give up my job to do this. I'm doing this because I'm at a point in my life where I want to serve my community full time. I've been a coach, a mentor, a volunteer, a neighborhood activist, a board member in my neighborhood association. I've cut the lawn down the street. I've cut the median. I'm going to do it again. We put 70 volunteers on the streets during the Motor City Makeover to help clean up neighborhoods, to work with neighborhood organizations, because that's what I do. I believe in strategic partnerships. I believe in creative problem solving, and I believe in trying to leave things better than I found them. I'm not going anywhere. I love Detroit. I love my neighborhood. I want to serve my neighbors. And I believe in putting public service before self-service. One of the things that's really important to me is that I work for all of our families so that my daughters who are raised here will want to come back. They do want to come back. And so that our kids will never want to leave. This to me is a special opportunity, and I'm grateful for your time and attention to hear me and to give me an opportunity to speak about what I hope to do. Basically, if I could say it in one sentence, I want to serve you. I'm a problem solver. I'm someone who listens. I'm someone who works with people. And I hope you'll give me the opportunity over the next 4 years to work with you to try and make this neighborhood, to make this district and this city the place we all hope it can be, because we're getting there. And with your help, I hope to be a key part of that. Thank you very much for your time and attention and for giving us this precious June evening. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, ML, right at time. And Mr. Bomani, you have the last word, 2 minutes for your closing remarks.
All right, I'd like to thank everybody for inviting the candidates and the community to get to hear it from everybody. But again, I'm Ani Bomani for Detroit City Council District 4. I am unbought and unbossed. Never will millionaires and billionaires be able to take me in back rooms and make deals against the people in my district. And that seems to be going on a lot with gentrification, with the Downtown Development Corporation, money going other places other than the community. I have been a public servant. I have been a community organizer and activist, a union representative for 30 years. I've worked on a grassroots level in all phases of community organizing. And I don't think anybody who can stand up to my record as far as being able to stand up to the corporate interests, the people who have money, who seem to be able to do whatever they want to in the city of Detroit, never will they be able to get me to go against my community. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people down there who are doing that now. And I just don't think anybody has the backbone like me as a revolutionary progressive candidate to stand up to the rest of these people who are trying to take over, gentrify Detroit and get people to leave. They really want people out of Detroit so they can bring this place and make it a playground for the rich. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bomani. And our thanks to all of the city council candidates for District 4 for joining us.